The East will likely experience drastic temperature swings over the next 7 to 10 days. We could see some severe weather today out in the Pacific Northwest and across portions of the Ohio Valley as we get into Thursday. And there are signs we could see a very cold, well below average January. It's December 16th, 2025. Let's get into the weather updates. We're going to experience a little bit of a warm up across the plains and out east. That's not surprising. We've been very, very cold out east for quite a while, and you always get one of these thaws eventually. Now, I don't think this is going to be an extended period of warm for multiple factors, including our MJO, but I do want to talk about who could be affected and how long it could last. First, let's take a look at what you can expect over the next 7 to 10 days. We had some nice snow out east, obviously, a few days ago, and that cold air and that precipitation is moving off the coast, and we have some warmer Pacific air moving in right now to replace that, although we are expecting another trough to dig down here and bring us some more cold air. You can see we still have a lot of moisture funneling into the Pacific Northwest, and we actually have a severe threat out there today, which we will be talking about soon. As we get through today and into tomorrow, we do have another trough beginning to dig down through the northern plains and Midwest. This is going to bring some cooler conditions back into the upper Midwest, Great Lakes region, and New England. We'll have some moisture funneling down in here through portions of the southern plains and southeast. And again, take a look at the Northwest. Tons and tons of precipitation. Lots of snow for the mountains, but mainly rainfall at the low elevations. We're going to continue to see an elevated flooding risk out here. Getting into later this week, into Thursday and Friday, we get another more amplified trough beginning to dig down into the east. This is through the northern plains. This could be a setup for severe weather right here through portions of Dixie Alley and the Ohio Valley. And we may get some snow on the back end of the system as well. Models don't completely agree how much moisture is going to be on the back end here, but the latest Euro does see some snow flying through portions of the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then this cold air is activating that lake effect snow again, and maybe throwing some more snow into portions of Ohio, Pennsylvania, inner New England. Now, as the system moves out later this week, we still have that stream of moisture up there in the Northwest. But pushing into the weekend, we are beginning to get very hot through portions of the Central Plains, Southern Plains, and Southeast. As we get into Saturday and Sunday, here we go. Once again, we have that warm up, and then we have this cold air diving in again. Now, the models aren't seeing much moisture with the southeast. It looks pretty dry as we go through this weekend. That could change again once we get into early next week, into Monday and Tuesday. Once again, we have another push of cold air, and this could come with some moisture up here through portions of the northeast, maybe even in the southeast. We'll have to see how amplified this trough is. And once again, you take a look at the northwest, and the moisture is continuing to funnel in. We actually are seeing potentially a storm system moving in a little bit farther south towards central to northern California. This could be a lot of snowfall for the Sierra Nevadas and Cascades. Christmas Day on the latest Euro looks pretty warm for the states. Maybe a little bit of cold air pushing into the northwest, a tiny bit of cool air moving through upper New England, but again, for the most part, pretty warm. I don't see any serious storm system on the Euro. If we compare this to the GFS, it's quite similar. Maybe a little bit of storminess and cold air up here in upper New England, and a little bit of cold air up here in the northwest. But you can see the plains and the majority of the east look warm and pretty dry right now. Now, before I get to the severe weather, I want to show you what's going on with our temperatures. We're going to have a fall-like setup here. It's going to be a battle between cold air and warm air out east. We'll get a little bit of an extended period of warmth, and then we'll transition back into likely getting some more pushes of cold air into the east. We can see what's happening moving forward here. We're cold out east, we're warm out west. We get a little bit of a warm up out east, and in the plains, some more cold air begins to sink down once again into the plains and out east. This is as we get into Friday and Saturday this week. And you can see that warm air out west. Now that warm air begins to push out east again, and look what happens right behind it. This is as we get into Monday. We get another push of cold air, and once again, we are warm out west. Now we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. This is now Christmas Eve, and you get a little bit of a warm up on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, that cold air wants to sink in once again into portions of the Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, and New England. Although you can see this ridge out west is wanting to take over a little bit more of the U.S. And then getting into Christmas Day, it could be hot, but this really all depends on timing, because as you can see leading into Christmas, we have that push and pull of warm and cold air out east. So could it still be cold on Christmas, even though this is what we're currently seeing on the Euro? It could be. It all depends the timing of our storm systems, of our troughing. If we did see this significant of above average temperatures, this would end up being one of our warmest Christmas days probably on record for a lot of people. Now we move past Christmas, and once again, that cold air moves back into the east. And this is what I'm saying. Timing is going to be everything here. You could end up seeing one of these storm systems or one of these troughs beginning to dig into the east on Christmas Day. We move deeper into December and we see that warm air push back out east again. And then if you were to look at the GFS actually thinks we have some more cold air right after this. So as we get a little bit closer to Christmas, we'll continue to watch this push and pull of above and below average temperature anomalies. And we'll see, is it actually going to end up being a very warm Christmas? Is this going to be the timing of that above average air directly on Christmas. We'll know more in a couple days. Let's talk about severe weather. Today we have a marginal risk up in the Pacific Northwest through portions of Oregon and Washington. Now this is just a wind-driven risk, meaning we don't really have much of a hail or tornado threat. And if we take a look at the winds today that we could be experiencing up here in the Pacific Northwest, you know why they have that marginal up there. Take a look at this. We could be seeing 50, 60, potentially even 70 mile per hour gusts along this coast here, and then across the higher elevations more inland. So very, very strong damaging winds are possible as this storm system moves ashore today. Getting into Thursday, the SPC has already given us a marginal risk out here through portions of the Ohio Valley. You can see this mainly encompasses Tennessee and Kentucky. There's not much showing up on the SIGTOR params. There's not a ton of CAPE, meaning there's not a lot of instability. You don't see many supercells showing up on the future composite reflectivity. So I'm not overly concerned about Thursday right now, but it is something to keep our eye on. Obviously, the Storm Prediction Center has labeled this 3 days out. So let's watch it and see kind of what happens as we get closer in time. Okay, I quickly, before I wrap up this video, want to do a little bit of a January outlook. Taking a look at our European weeklies. This is our Arctic oscillation and it wants to go negative. A negative AO represents typically a polar vortex that is slowing, that wants to spill more cold air down into the states. So this is a sign of a cool down really across the states. We're not sure who's going to get the majority of that cold air yet, but a cool down across the states as we get into January. And then if you were to look at our NAO or North Atlantic oscillation, this wants to go negative as well. So this would suggest potentially a very cold start to the East Coast as we get into January. Maybe it's lagged a little bit. Maybe this cold air doesn't really take over the East until a few days or maybe even a week into January, but negative NAO, negative AO, typically a sign of colder air out east. The issue is you also have a negative PNA and potentially a positive EPO. So this could actually promote some of that cooler air pushing into the west. Overall though, I think January is going to be pretty cool. We have a stratospheric polar vortex breakdown that's happening right now. Not a major one, but it is occurring. And again, with this negative AO being projected and our MJO forecast, I have to lean towards a below average January. And if our NAO wants to push negative and it wants to stay there for a little bit, that cold air is going to favor the East Coast. Here's what's currently going on in the stratosphere. You can see these high height anomalies. This is very warm air. This is very above average air disrupting our stratospheric polar vortex. We also still have a very nice and above average snow and ice pack, although we could see temperatures in the 60s and 70s potentially pushing up into the southern Midwest region, Ohio Valley, and trying to get up there into the mid-Atlantic, although I don't think the mid-Atlantic is going to get that warm. And this right here is a pretty big deal, our updated MJO forecast. If we are pushing up towards a somewhat amplified phase 8 around the 16th through the 20th of January, this could be a wildly cold setup. In the northern hemisphere, typically our coldest time of the year, coldest day of the year is right around January 20th. If you have this MJO, like I said, amplifying into phase 8, which is already a very cold pattern at that same time, it's only going to amplify that already very freezing air for that time of year. So this is still a little bit far out, but interesting models are still pointing towards us staying in this 7-8-1 MJO phase, but especially pushing up and re-amplifying into phase 8. If this verifies, this is bound to bring some record temperatures to someone. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I've been a little bit busy lately, but I typically upload videos like this every single day, and right after I upload them, I get on live to answer all of your weather-related questions. I also have an awesome weather Discord if you want to join it. Tons of great information and weather enthusiasts. The link to my Discord is in the description of all of my YouTube videos and YouTube lives. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video or in the next live stream.